we are now in St. Cloud, Minnesota, at the Hallenbeck Hall. This was an AWA TV taping.
1986, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. May 13th, matter of fact.
May 4th. My birthday's May 14th, so.
Well, there's probably quite the party after this taping.
Brody gave me a birthday present.
Yes, we will talk about that.
Well, look
yeah,
at him. The young Vader, the baby bull.
The baby bull. The baby bull. The hat. How'd that whole thing come about?
Well, I was pretty big, wasn't I? Too big, is that?
Well, no. You're wearing the gimmick. How did the baby bull name come about?
It was a college football name. Started out my freshman year, and I came in around 300 pounds. And back in the 70s when I played college football, that was a big alignment. Today, 300 pounds is regular, to say the least. It's a normal size, but yeah, in fact, I believe I was the first college lineman ever to play and make All-American at 300 pounds. So that was
And you were the baby bull.
And they called me the baby bull, and then I think it was my junior year, they just dropped off the baby and just called me the bull.
Right. 1985, 1986 in the AWA. What was the climate over there at the time?
You know what? They were fiercely competing with the WWE, F at that time, and obviously Hulk had already left in '86. Andre had already left, and other big stars. But there were some talent. There was still some very good talent left in the AWA. Of course, Bruiser Brody, Jerry Blackwell, Stan Hansen was coming back from Japan. The Road Warriors,
right?
Young Sean and Marty.
That's right, the Rockers, yeah.
Oh Lordy, one more famous.
Well, you had Greg Gagne, you had Jim Brunzell. Who else are you looking for?
Midnight Rockers, Freebirds. So.
That's right.
Kirk Henry, Scott Hall.
Yeah.
So you look at this year in AWA, and for the next 15 years, this group of wrestlers at the AWA was prominently represented throughout wrestling, Japan, WCW, and of course the WWE at that time.
The pressure of the WWE at the time, was that being felt through the locker room here in the AWA?
Obviously, we knew they were the people to beat. Vern, I don't believe Vern felt he could compete, especially on a national level. I think he felt that he could compete very effectively within his territory, his region, so to speak, and I think he did. Again, you go through the names that were on that list that we just spoke about, and there's some very talented wrestlers there.
What was it like working for Vern?
In actuality, we worked for his son, Greg, who was also a wrestler, which I think was a difficult hat to wear. And Greg was obviously the boss, and he was making finishes and wrestling at the same time. So I don't think I would have wanted that job.
Right.
But it was a good time. It was a learning experience. And speaking of learning experiences, Mr. Brody is giving me one at this point. I hadn't been wrestling very long this match, and Bruiser was one of the all-time great big men, heels in the business, and certainly it was informative.
Tell us about the match itself. Is one of your classic symphonies of brutality. But he goes
on which end? Who's dishing out the brutality here, me or our Bruiser?
Well, I was going to ask about the leg in particular here. The leg that you were selling. What was the reason for that? For the going after the leg and taking you out?
The reason I don't know. Obviously, we can't ask Bruiser. He's passed on, but I believe they felt they had to hurt me, and they did. They did it early in the match with the distraction from Adnan, right?
Adnan, yeah.
Adnan, and obviously this is where the lesson continues here. And he broke my leg in about 3 or 4 places, and this was actually, I believe this was one of my last matches. It's not the last match in the AWA.
Ah, okay.
So,
now, Brody's known for working a stiff style and all that. Did that influence, you're early in your career, younger man, did that influence or shape the way that you wanted to work, or in any way influence it?
You mean through the injury throughout my career, or?
Yeah, but just having been introduced in an area like Minnesota with guys that were this stiff and...
That's a great question, and I was in the school for the AWA School of Wrestling, and I came out from Colorado, and I don't know, I was 400 pounds, and I could bench press 600 pounds, and I had the football background, so I was big and explosive, but the conditioning was a factor at that size, and not having wrestled for, we're talking about not 5-minute matches, but 20 and 25-minute matches in that era. And so that was the first problem. But the three dominant big men of this era, in my opinion, and also of this company, of course, were Stan Hansen, who was just fantastic in his day, and then Bruiser Brody, who was equally as fantastic, and then the great late Jerry Blackwell.
Right.
And this guy wasn't, 5'8", 5'9", 450 pounds, and he could do a standing drop kick.
Yeah.
And so my first match, it was pretty much, this was the situation where, hey, Leon is 375, 400 pounds. I dropped a few pounds, in the camp and got in better condition. Let Leon fight Brody because no one else wanted to. So my very first match in the AWA was with Brody, and that was a rude awakening. You can see Brad Riggins carrying me off here.
Yeah, Brad Riggins. He is Scott Ledoux.
Yeah.
Story there. Yeah, story there with Scott. Little history.
There might be a little bit. We almost got into it one evening. He was complaining about signing an autograph with the door open, and we had a pretty frank discussion about that. But again, my very first match with Bruiser Brody, and I remember one time we were in Milwaukee, and we had just started the match, and somehow Bruiser had grabbed a chair, and he hit me so hard in the back that I don't know the precise name, but it said the Milwaukee Chair Company, and it was implanted on my back for 10 days. And he hit me so hard it went black. I lost my air. the whole arena virtually went soft, and he's got a chair here, which he was famous for. But I got to know Bruiser a little bit, and in Japan, and then obviously with the AWA, and it was a great loss for the sport. And, I remember I was in Japan finding out about the injury in Puerto Rico. But when I'll sum this up real quick. When you start up with, I started out with Bruiser Brody, and I had a series with him, and then from there I went to Stan Hansen, and then finished up with Jerry Blackwell. And I really feel that formed who I was to become, and maybe this is the way I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah, that's
who I became as a wrestler. Mexico, Japan, Australia, Europe, AWA, WCW, and WWE. It was my first match with a wrestler outside of those three individuals. It was like, the guy looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, "Excuse me, man, wait a minute. Isn't this the way it's supposed to be? Because I've been getting my ass kicked, for the last 6 months with these three guys, and not just kicked, but injured, stitches, concussions, and now so."
That's your on-the-job training. So
you know what? It was a rough way to begin. I was probably the better. I lived through it, so I was better for it. But it was wow.
Your actual quote, Leon, I can give this to you on Brody. No one wanted to fight him. He just killed me. I just got beat unmerciful. It was terrible. Brody hit me so hard with a chair one time that the chair said "made in wherever," and it was imprinted on my back for a week. He knocked me out. I was on my face. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's no bull. But that is AWA 1986.